serious, what is the worst pain you have felt? The emotional pain I feel over the love of my life. Childbirth. The nurses were too slow with the epidural, so I had to go AU natural. Physical pain, a testicular torsion, when I was 19. Emotional pain, finding out my G/F of 3 years was cheating on me, followed by her drug relapse, and eventual overdose death. The pain of living without a purpose. I lost my dad and the love of my life this year. I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going. It hurts. Losing a good friend unexpectedly to a freak illness. It feels like a hole being ripped in your heart. My girl tried to get on top of me and missed it, hurt like hell. Kidney stone. Was awful. Could hardly walk, barely talk above a whisper. I just wanted pain relief. Dry socket. When I was first diagnosed with fibromyalgia, my right leg felt like it was about to collapse in onto self, but thanks to RFA, radio frequency ablation, I only have minor pain every day. I had a perforated bowel go unchecked for several months because of Crohn's disease, which caused my appendix to go septic. I was barely minutes away from my appendix rupturing when they took it and a chunk of my bowel out. Eating anything harder than water caused it to feel as if I had a knife twisting in my gut until the pain was enough to make me vomit. This went on long enough for me to lose 70 pounds. I was 160 when the worst of the pain started and ended up under 110. It's an experience I'm not looking forward to having again, and that's probably the worst part. With this illness, it's not a question of if it'll happen again, it's a matter of when. So while that shadow ebbs and flows, the knowledge that it will come back in full force never goes away. When I was 13, I woke up with this excruciating pain in my head. It only lasted a second, and I literally thought I was going to die. I still don't know what it was after all this time. Dentist left a nerve exposed. No painkiller would work. I eventually passed out. Ovarian cyst bursting. Happened 3 times to me in my teen years. Thinking about it hurts. When my eardrums ruptured, OTC pain meds have absolutely no effect. Physical pain. Testicular torsion when I was 13. When I was 18, my chest felt like it was going to explode, and whenever I moved it felt like I was getting stabbed, but to be honest, my pain tolerance is high. Like I've broken or dislocated stuff and it hasn't bothered me. Right now my knee is throbbing, and my back feels like I've been kicked by a donkey, but you learn to live with it. I got a spinal tap with no anesthesia, not even topical, then endured a week of heavy fourth medication that made me puke so much my stomach acid had burned my throat. Also the time my ballet teacher broke my ribs. One of my kids stuck her finger in my eye as a baby and ripped about 1/8 of my cornea off. That sucked. Sciatica that eventually led to permanent nerve damage, thank God. I have a high pain tolerance, but that pain was so unbearable that I would have killed myself. Crohn's disease. When I was 11, I accidentally closed the door on my left middle finger, partially severing it. They were not able to reattach the severed piece of my finger, and now I only have 7/8 of my left middle finger. The pain was tremendous. More pain than I had ever felt before, and more pain than quite a lot of people will ever feel in their lifetimes. I've gone through some painful stuff, like having broken my fingernail off and puncturing my genitals, but the worst was a migraine, where I genuinely would knock myself unconscious if I had the energy just to stop it. When my grandma died 2 days before Christmas last year, I was trying so hard to be strong for my dad and not cry in front of him. We went through her possessions on Christmas, and I now have some of her jewelry that she let me play with when I was little. Miss you, Grammy. Pancreatitis. I have had 7 children naturally and would do it all again over going through a pancreatitis attack. I'll give mental and physical examples. Physical, this is going to sound really stupid, but I'm a track runner, and one time, I ran so fast into a sharp square pole, right on the corner. Mental, when my boyfriend hit me. For years he had been the only one who gave a crap about what I was feeling. One day, I was having a panic attack, and my asthma was acting up. He decided I was being too loud and annoying, so he punched me straight in the face and told me these exact words: "Shut up, you goddamn whore." I was trying to eat a habanero every day to build up my tolerance, and one day I did it on an empty stomach without really thinking about it, and it burned so bad, and any time I tried to eat or drink anything it made me want to throw up. So for a good 15 minutes I was next to the toilet or curled up on the ground. TLDR, I broke my arm. My father didn't believe me. A day later we went to the hospital where nurses yanked on my broken bone for hours. When I was a little kid, maybe 6 years old, I broke my left arm on the trampoline. I was bawling my eyes out when I ran inside to tell my parents what happened. My father didn't believe me that it was broken. He thought I was being dramatic. He made me sleep on a broken arm that night, and if my arm still hurt in the morning he said he'd take me to the hospital. Well, we obviously went to the hospital the next day because I'm still in a huge amount of pain. We get through the waiting room and get x-rays, only the nurses messed up my x-rays somehow, no idea how, and claimed my arm was out of its socket. We spent ages in the emergency room with nurse after nurse not being able to put my broken arm back in its socket before someone realized there was a problem. I was in so much pain every time someone pulled on my arm, it was agony. My arm was never out of the socket, it was straight up broken. The hospital staff eventually figured out their mistake, and I got my bone set and put in a little pink cast. Fuck everybody involved with my broken arm as a child. A sack of moldy lettuce could have done a better job than my father and the nurses. Ovarian torsion. Pain was so extreme I couldn't even stand up or sit, and came with projectile vomiting. A cyst on my ovary burst. I all of a sudden had the most intense uterine pain. It was like period cramps times 100. I screamed and then I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. It felt like I was choking on pain. I was certain I would pass out or die. To be honest, I would very much like to die that day. Luckily the ambulance was called. The first injection of fentanyl didn't touch it. I had to have 2 injections. Screwed a wood screw into my hand with a drill once. Didn't hurt at first, but had to screw it back out with pliers. For years I would get this really intense cramping sensation in my lower stomach area. It got worse and worse until one day I just remember being so disoriented from the pain I just lied there on the ground. I blacked out for a second because I walked into the shower, but I had no memory of how I got there. After talking to 3 different doctors for 5 years and getting nowhere, I was finally told I have advanced endometriosis and I have endometrial tissue growing and connecting several of my organs. Nothing stops the pain once it starts. I can't sleep, eat, cry. I literally just lie on the ground and wait for it to end. Hope that doesn't sound too dramatic, lol. I just find it's very hard to explain endo pain to people who haven't felt it. Having a doctor stuff a small gauze in my abscess to let it drain even with a local anesthesia. Detoxing off heroin, never again, God willing. Period cramps. I was 14. I felt nauseous, dizzy, and had the worst pain I've ever felt since in my chest. Only thing to come close to comparing since was when I didn't know I had DIF at 17 and ignored the pain for weeks until it was so bad I needed a 4-day-long hospital stay. I was screaming that I wanted to pass out over and over again because it hurt so bad, and my dad just turned his movie volume up piercingly loud on the TV. I was hunched over the toilet and retching up stomach acid while screaming with every exhale. I was terrified and truly thought I could die. My parents refused to take me to the hospital cause they thought I was having a panic attack, which I had never had before or ever alluded to having. I don't even have anxiety. I have since been diagnosed with a few weird chronic illnesses, but I still don't know what that awful event was caused by, and it still gives me nightmares every now and then. TLDR, chest pain so bad I couldn't stop screaming about how badly I wanted to be unconscious. Still don't know what it was caused by. My entire body, especially my throat, when I had the mumps. I have all of my vaccinations, but have a weak immune system and caught them during undergrad. After a few days of cold/cough-like symptoms, I woke up crying at 5 a.m. because I couldn't breathe. Looked in the mirror and I had a golf ball-sized lymph node crushing my throat. Went to the and couldn't even sit up on my stretcher for a chest X-ray. They ultimately gave me a fuck ton of morphine, and I ended up feeling like I could walk on water. I had shingles when I was 23. I didn't know what it was, so I let it go for a week. I was also in a bad place mentally, completely alone except for a dysfunctional relationship, halfway across the country from any family. When I get stressed, I still have pain that shoots along the nerve I had the shingles on. Contacts have several different solutions they can be stored in. Well, a specific one that is meant for cleaning the contact, well, it contains 3% hydrogen peroxide. That going directly into my eye was the most painful thing I've ever felt, hands down. Broke two ribs. I dislocated my kneecap once. I've also had severe gout flare-ups that have come close. Just having wisdom teeth pulled and having the numbing wear off right where one of the teeth are, and being in the car, so all the vibrations irritate up. You can't have painkillers cause the pharmacy is closed, so basically you have to wait until tomorrow to take a painkiller. Physical. Healing from anterior rear cervical spine fusion. After thinking the typical surgery from the front was the worst. Prayed for death several times. My migraine. I remember it being so bad one day that I seriously thought I was going to die. Had a cyst in a finger joint and was getting my finger numbed. Doc put the numbing stuff at the base of my finger where it meets my hand. There was so much pressure I genuinely thought my finger was going to pop off. I had a 1973 Mercury Montego's radiator blow up on me. Caused second and third degree burns on my back and head. A very close second was a dislocated shoulder, where it couldn't be treated for 2 hours, because I was in the middle of nowhere. Nothing too bad, just burning myself with ramen noodles, twice. I was 4 and mom told me to check. If it was done, the microwave would say end, but I thought I could be helpful by taking it out, and well, that hot bowl went all over my arm. Then at 11, I was eating a cup of cheddar ramen, and it slipped off the table onto my leg. Next 7-year anniversary started a month ago, so I better be careful. One time I snapped my pinky in half like a twig as a kid. Let's just say I haven't played soccer for years after that. When I was 4 I picked up a lead firecracker. I've had my canines removed. I've fallen down a long concrete staircase. I've had a crate crush my pinky just enough to feel pain, but not break it. I've been stung by a bee on my hand whilst mountain climbing. The way down was horrible. I've stopped breathing a few times. I've had to hike 7 miles in sandals with tendonitis, and I've stepped on multiple shards of glass. One of those. Broken tailbone and burst eardrum. Having babies was a breeze compared to those. I went blind in one eye when someone in 5th grade pulled my glasses up, and the metal nose holder thing went into my eye. When my white blood cells were attacking my stomach. It's a toss-up between my wisdom teeth breaking my molars to grow in, and a surprise miscarriage I had. I had no idea I was pregnant. The pain was so sudden and so strong I nearly fainted. Oh, and coital cephalgia. Severe pain in the brain when you reach climax. An ear infection I had one Christmas when I was a kid. It was years ago, but I can still remember exactly how it felt. Kidney stones. I was alone and really thought I was going to die. I was already considering writing a last message on a piece of paper. I had a really bad headache once. Epididymitis. Thought I had just sat down weird or twisted something. It gradually became a 8/10 on my personal pain scale. The only reason it wasn't a 9 or 10 is because I have a vivid imagination and can imagine way worse pain. Juggling any and every emotion I can imagine for someone who's very mentally ill and will never understand/connect/care for me on the same or in any way at all. to the point where I've mentally and emotionally snapped and should probably just cut and run, but I'm still stuck with heartache for that person. A cramp in my neck that I never felt during the night, so I basically slept that way, and then come day, I could only keep my neck bending to the left or else I would feel a jolt of pain shooting up. It was pretty surprising how hard everyday tasks are when you can't keep your neck straight. Wisdom teeth removal. For a week straight, I would wake up in the middle of the night feeling a pounding pain in all four corners of my mouth and just lay there just hoping it would eventually go away. Worst physical pain was when I blew out my knee, snapped my meniscus clean in half, and tore my ACL off my femur. Took a month to get into surgery and I could feel this big lump of cartilage floating around my very swollen knee. Hitting my ankle with a scooter, I'm not much old. Fell on a barbecue and braced myself hands first. Losing my father. When I was 11 I was assaulted by 2 staff members at school as a restraining technique autistic kid. I was severely bullied, and one day I saw kids outside the window pointing and laughing at me. A tar told me my option was go into class or receive internal isolation, locked in a small room the entire day. Sometimes they would even take away the chairs. I tried to run away, so the 2 tars restrained me, pinned my arms between thighs, and twisted so my body moved unnaturally. I'd rather not go into a lot of detail, but it was by far, the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I tried to file a report against them, but a head teacher I had never met tossed it without so much as speaking to me about it because, as one teacher very smugly told me, Mrs. X and Mrs. Y would never do something like that. She, head teachers, knows that you're lying. Opus. Later one of them told me the restraining technique was designed to be as painful as possible to get the children to stop resisting. A couple weeks later they changed their story to "we are trained so that it isn't painful at all, and it was only painful because you resisted." Even though I had literally gone limp in their arms, left with me lingering trauma for 10 years, and still felt phantom pains in my arms. Though thankfully thanks to therapy they have passed, and I'm feeling a lot better about it. But yeah, fuck you Debbie, and fuck the other one, hope you both go bald. Physical, ovarian torsion, and I've been through childbirth, car accidents, and other physical trauma. Emotional pain, the realization that I chose to stay in an abusive relationship for most of my adult life, when I could have made it on my own. I was more capable of making it on my own, as a single mother, than I ever thought I was. I cheated myself out of a healthy, empowered start to my adult life, by thinking I couldn't make it on my own. Had plantar warts removed from the bottom of my feet, 25 shots in each foot from heel to toe to numb, so they could be burned off. Having my dad leave and lie to me, and having my older brother break into my house in the same month, both of which were my best friends. Kidney stone. Big one that had to be surgically removed. I was vomiting from the pain. Blowing a hernia from coughing while on 3 tabs of acid. Talk about panic. Nowhere near as extreme as many of these, but intestinal inflammation, gastroenteritis I suppose it's called, waves of gut twisting agony. All I could do was shit, puke, or wait for it to subside. Sometimes falling asleep from exhaustion after so much contraction in my stomach. I had shingles, and that was pretty nasty. Getting stung by a wasp in my shower, then proceeding to fall in the shower. Don't worry, I got the wasp before I got me again, but fuck, it hurt. That someone would dare downvote my humble contribution to your worthless internet point total, bruh. Hey guys, if you're interested in earning gift cards for free, check out Swagbucks. There are many ways you can earn, including downloading apps, surveys, or playing games. While I'm in Zoom classes, I play the apps that I download from here for credit, and I make around $10-20 every other day for doing very little. Use my link in the description and you can get a free $10 towards a gift card of your choice.